International Association for Near-Death Studies presents NDE Radio, a weekly exploration of near-death experiences and similar encounters with the other side. Now, here's your host, Lee Witting.
Welcome to NDE Radio, brought to you by IANDS, the International Association for Near-Death Studies. I'm your host, Lee Witting. In the study of the near-death experience, childhood NDEs are especially interesting because they are much less likely to be affected by religion and cultural expectations. Our guest today, Ingrid Honkala Phd, was born in Bogota, Colombia, where she grew up with her parents and three sisters. From the moment she drowned in a tank of cold water at the age of 2, Ingrid was aware of other dimensions of life than those most people normally experience. She was also gifted with the input of beings of light who gave her invaluable insights and assistance as she faced the challenges of growing up, falling in love, and finding her professional destiny as a research scientist and oceanographer. Despite many hardships, Ingrid has become a successful marine scientist, world traveler, a mom, and also a mentor and a giver of light. She's the author of A Brightly Guided Life, How a Scientist Learned to Hear Her Inner Wisdom. Ingrid, welcome to NDE Radio.
Thank you, Lee. Such an honor to be here with you today.
Well, it was great meeting you and hearing your story at the Labor Day weekend IANDS conference in Seattle. And I'm so happy you can be here to tell your story on NDE Radio.
Yes, I am just said, so honored, so blessed to be part of all this and be able to share all this light with all of the people that is there to listen.
Yes. Well, why don't we start with what caused your NDE at 2 years old?
Okay, this just happened as a result of me falling into a tank filled with frigid water when I was almost 3. What happened that day was my parents usually left for work very early in the morning, and we were left at the care of the maid. And she's supposed to be taking care of us that morning, but she decided to go to her room and lie there, and my sister and I, being just the kids that we were, just almost 3 and almost 4, decided that we were going to sneak into the patio and play catch across a tank. At the time in Colombia, we didn't have a washing machine, so this time the purpose of this time was for hand washing clothes. And my experience and my memories about all these are so vividly that I remember with absolute clarity even the ball that we were playing with, the texture of it, because it had like engraved letters on it. So we decided that he sat on one side of the tank where the clothes are hand washed, so that was safer. It was just a flat surface, but I decided to go on the other side where there was a very thin edge. So I went I just kind of leaned there, and we started to throw the ball at each other. And when my sister threw the ball to me, I was going to grab it, and it rolled on the surface of the water, and I just lost my balance and fell into the tank. And at that age, I did not have any idea that if you fall into water, you drown. So while I was going through the most terrifying and shocking moment of my life where I was just fighting to breathe, fighting to just get out of this tank, suddenly I went from that absolute moment of terror to one of complete and absolute joy, peace, freedom. It was just like, such an amazing state of well-being. And while I was experiencing this state, suddenly I just saw a light. Like if the light of a candle had been ignited, and that was enough to illuminate all my watery surroundings. And I started to see bubbles suspended in the water, and I just started to follow these bubbles. Then I saw a body suspended in the water, and the eyes were open, and I just realized that somehow I knew that was my body. And because I was born as a very sick child, and I spent the first 3 years of my life feeling very, very unwell, when I saw the body, I just felt like, no, I'm not going back there. Because the sense of well-being I was experiencing was such that I don't want to go back to that body. And now I was free to do it. I was experiencing this amazing, amazing freedom. So at that moment, I turned around and left. And while I was leaving, I started to see flowers that were blooming from nowhere. It was the most amazing, just flowers. And then suddenly I was just kind of lifted and carried by these flowers. Then I was just being being just carried like in a forward direction, and I could see like a lot of light, like a big source of light in the horizon. But then just like that, just in just an instant, I appeared in the maid's room, and I saw her from above. And she was lying on her bed, and my memory of this whole experience is so clear, like I said before, that I can even remember the soap opera she was listening in the radio. Yes, and she was lying on her bed. I just looked at her. She was completely unaware of what was happening. And from there, just like that again, I appeared in my mom's path. She was like walking to her work, and she was about 10 minutes from the house. And when I saw her, I'm like, oh, that's Mom. Mm-hmm. And at that moment, this is amazing because this is this connection that we're unaware of, but she felt like something was going wrong at home with one of her daughters.
Yes.
And she just decided to turn around and she started to run. She just had this urge, like, I have to be home. Mm-hmm. Then she started to run back home, and at that moment, I just got distracted by the realization that wherever I put my mind, I could go. And it was like time and space had vanished for me, and I was just, playing this game of going places. And while I was playing this game of like thinking about something and appearing there, suddenly again, just like that, I appeared in a realm that was completely made of pure, bright, shiny light. And I felt absolutely welcome. I felt that I was just coming back home. Like if I just had left that morning, it was like no time. And I was just coming back from a day of work. And I was being welcomed, and I felt so loved. And even at that moment, I didn't really see anybody. I felt that I was not alone. And then I had the realization at that moment that I was a being of light. Because until that moment, I just didn't think about it. Then now I realized, wow, I'm not that person. I'm not Ingrid. I am this being. And at that moment, I started to fuse, to become one with the whole. And although I was still having a sense of self, it's like I was just vanishing. And from there, I experienced something that is impossible to describe, but the best way is just saying what it is not, because I experienced a sense of nothingness. And the only thing I can say about that is the absence of absolutely everything we know with our senses and with our mind. It was a state in which there was no color, no movement, form, no texture, sound, no feeling. There was no meaning, no concept. And while I was just in this state, suddenly my mom, who was just finally just arriving home, when she got there, although we live in a big house, she knew exactly where to go. And she directed herself to the back of the house where there was a patio. And there, my oldest sister was leaning in the tank, and she was too little to help me. She made an effort to try to reach me, but she just couldn't. But thanks to her, my mom knew that there was something, that I was in the tank. She looked at my mom and she said, Ingrid is there and I cannot help her. My mom got in the tank, she got me out. I was like a raggedy doll. She said there was no pulse, there was no breathing, but my mom was trained CPR and she just decided to revive me. And at that moment, I was so detached already. I was not concerned at all with this reality, that I didn't feel absolutely anything. But like some people say that they were told to come back or something like this, none of that happened to me. I just felt like suddenly like I was jumping from the tallest building in the world. And like I just felt that vacuum feeling, like when you jump from a big tower or from an airplane. And that feeling was like something pulling me back. Like I was being sucked, like vacuumed back into this reality and to this body, something I could not avoid. And then I knew I was back when all the feelings of like discomfort and cold and pain and fear were back.
Yes.
So that was pretty much what happened during the NDE.
Do you think that, I've asked this question of other people who've started into the light, do you think that we lose ourselves, that we lose our ego, that we lose our identity when we merge back into the light? Do we just become part of God?
Yes, because I think it's not needed anymore. I think that the work of the ego is offered to us in this life as humans, the possibility to have contrast. That contrast that will make us or will force us to go back to awareness, to go back to, oh, there's something else here. This ego is actually giving us all these contrasts, or sometimes it turns into suffering, it turns into pain, but all of that is guiding us back to look, there's something else. There's something else. Look beyond. That's why some people have to go through terrible sickness or terrible things to finally say, all this experience pushed me to change my mind, to change my perception, to realize that I have to look at life with different eyes, with the eyes of love, with the eyes of compassion. So all of that, so there's a function for the ego. And once we are out there, it's not needed anymore. We just merge.
I thought it was very interesting that your mother was psychically aware that you were in trouble, that she must have psychic abilities as well as you.
My mom is actually a very, very sensitive being. And through time, once we started to kind of like understand each other, like when I was 5 years old, due to a bunch of drawings I used to do at school, a teacher just was curious and she asked me like, what is this? Because I used to paint auras around everything. And I started like figures around everything, and she's like, are these the sun and the stars? I'm like, no, those are my friends, the beings of light. So thanks to all these drawings, my mom was called at school, and she started to realize, oh, I get what is going on here. She's seeing things. And my mom just in front of the teacher was like, oh, nothing is happening, go solve it. But then she came to me and said, I believe you because I also see things that others don't.
Yes.
And what happened is that she's been seeing a spirit since she was 5 years old, but through her life she was asked, and she was punished if she would talk about that when she was little. So she completely concealed this and never really mentioned it to most of anybody until finally she started to be able to talk about it as she discovered this was happening to me, and as I grew and I started to bring all my family into all this and to spirituality. So my mom is an incredible sensitive being.
Now, you mentioned the beings of light. Tell us about that.
That's absolutely amazing, Lee, because it's when we realize that we're never, ever alone, that we're always being taken care of. So what happened is that after my NDE, I started to have similar experiences to the one I experienced when I nearly died, in the sense that I was experiencing like changes in color and movements and sounds and things that I have never experienced in this realm as Ingrid. And at that age, I didn't know I was having out-of-body experiences. And I was being taken back to that realm of the light that I experienced during my NDE. And all this was really confusing. And the whole thing was very confusing because when I came back, I was not happy. I felt so much freedom, so much joy there that I'm like, I don't want to be here. So I was throwing big tantrums, and it was hard for my parents. You imagine a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old I would say to my mom, Mom, you don't understand. This is not me. This is not my name. I should not be here. So in the midst of throwing all these tantrums and all this happening, in one of these journeys that I was having, suddenly I was surrounded by light, like the starlight figures that were shining in all different colors. And I was like, wow, in this state of awe. And in one of the journeys, one of these stars-like figures turned itself into a human form. And it approached me and just kind of like touched me, and I realized, you are a being of light. So what it did is just, it transformed so I could understand that, look, don't be afraid, or we are the same. That it was a way to communicate with me in a way that I could understand. So after that, it kept happening many more times, and then I would say just not long after that, one day I was just really relaxing, and I was taking a shower. I guess that for me is the most relaxing time. And when you're relaxed, you're kind of higher in your vibration. And that moment of being of light appeared right there. It was a shining, intense blue light, and I just like, a being of light is here. So now I started to see them here also with my eyes open. And they started to appear often everywhere, and I started to heal and feel so well in their presence that now I just kind of, things at home and with my parents and with the whole atmosphere started to feel more relaxed. But although I was feeling better, I was still throwing tantrums because I felt very detached from my persona, from my name. And there was a time where this was now a new maid, and she was calling me, Ingrid, come to eat, Ingrid, and sometimes I would get very bothered about people calling me Ingrid. And I turned to her and I said, don't call me like that. That is not my name. And she said, so what is your name? And I just would reply, I do not need one. So after that, one of these big tantrums, the beings of light started to communicate with me. And this is one of these journeys. And it said to me that it was going to take time for the people around me to understand. And they started to say to me, as you already know, as you have discovered, names are not needed in the realm of the light. So that was very big for me, because then I started to have that clarity to understand, I get it. There's something going on here. I was too little to comprehend that I was navigating between realms, and that there was this realm of the physical realm, and that there was this realm of the light, and that I was passing through both. So now things started to kind of make sense a little. And they started to say that all the experiences that I was having and the ones that I was going to have were all gifts. and that they were given to me to help me and to help others. And
Did they tell you anything about your future? What was going to happen before you lived through it?
Yeah, I mean, at that moment, when I asked them, I didn't have the clarity how I could help anybody. But they said that I didn't need to worry because I was going to be guided. And that people was going to appear in my path to guide me and to teach me. So from there, they started to give me those little hints. So they were like, yeah, teachings will come, people will come. And little by little through time, because of course they also, I felt overwhelmed already. I used to just ask why I didn't come with a full manual. But yeah, this was a process. So little by little, they started to show me and tell me things. And I started to have visions of what we call the future since I was 4 years old. So I started to see the things that were happening sometimes close or sometimes the things that didn't happen until 20, 30 years later. And just by like tying the knots or just when the experience happened, I'll be like, wow, I knew this. I knew this. So yeah, little by little, they started to show me what was to come and just make things clear for me as I move through life.
Did your mother have the ability to see these beings of light as well?
No, that was a big difference because I understand that everything, all of this is related with vibrational energy. So, like the beings of light said to me, nothing in the universe lacks purpose. So they said to me, my experience happened when I was so young. So they say in a way I was old enough to remember, but young enough not to be conditioned yet. So since I didn't have all the conditioning of my surrounding, of all the social and maybe religious and all the stuff that I supposed to believe or not believe, I was able to keep a vibrational energy that was very high. Mm-hmm. But my mom already had a lot of conditioning in her life and a lot of things that she shouldn't do or say or be. So her vibrational energy was lower than mine. So she could reach levels where she could see certain things, but she was never able to see what I was seeing. So it was a moment when I first saw the first spirit, I was 6 years old, and it frightened me because it was a different frequency energy. And I told my mom, the spirits and the beings of light are not the same thing. And she was shocked because she thought I was seeing the same thing she was. And so at that moment, she started to understand, and she said, what I think you're seeing are angels. And I said, Mom, but they don't have wings. And she said that it don't matter, that what I was describing and what she thought I was seeing was angels. And then I asked the beings of light, are you angels? And they said to me, we are what you want us to be. So that's the compassion of the universe. It manifests to us in the way that we can understand it, that we can make sense of it.
Yes. Now, Ingrid, you said you're a mom.
Yes.
Is it one or more children?
Just one.
Boy or girl?
He's a boy. His name is David, and he's 11 now.
Now, has he exhibited any psychic abilities, or, does he understand what you can see and where you're at?
Yes, he does. He's incredibly sensitive being. The conversations with him are crazy because we're so connected, and he's so filled with wisdom. And it's natural for him. He's always seen me the way I am, but through time I have learned so much from him because he is now my view, my part of like, I understand why I went through when I was little because I see him developing as this very sensitive being with so much clarity He brings this knowledge, and sometimes I just get shocked by the things that he says. So he's amazing.
He's part of the generation that's either going to save the world or not, because things are becoming desperate and environmentally and politically and in every way. So we have to put a lot of faith in that generation coming up. What do you think about the future of the Earth? I mean, how do you feel things are going now?
I think that there's a lot of change is going on. I think like there's been so much pain and so much suffering for so long that we're starting to now knock the door to ask the questions, why this is happening? Why all this suffering? Why this is happening to us? Who am I? Why is all this about? Why is this all for? Once we start asking these questions, then we're opening the door to answers. We're not just living the life as just we're being moved by what is just happening with no consciousness at all. Now we're starting to awakening in the question and asking and looking for answers and realizing that, this is not the way. There has to be a better way.
What prompted you to write your book? Did the beings of light ask you to?
This was actually amazing because I always thought that I wasn't never going to write anything about me. I was like, no. I thought actually that was egotistic. And it's amazing how actually all this is propelling us to give and to do and to move forward. So what happened is that there was a point in my life where so much suffering had happened. Because I felt very different from everybody else. And there was a point in my life that I lowered my vibrational frequency, kind of got disconnected, and started to live a life of a lot of suffering and reached the point where I pretty much wanted to die. I wanted to just leave this world. I touched buttons. And at that moment, I asked the beings of light, I asked the universe, give me light, give me the clarity I need. And all the synchronicities played together for me to go to meet this amazing psychologist. And he was a person with so much clarity. And I sat there and I started to tell little by little stories and see if he would get his book or something. And he wasn't. He was so open that I was able to tell the next thing and go to the next level and the next level until he said one day, Ingrid, what about you write a list of all your sufferings? And that way you can do this work of writing and getting it out. This is cathartic. And I'm like, okay, well, all right, let's write. I'm just like, okay. So I wrote all these lists, and the list went on and on and on and on, and it was so long that when we read it together, he said, look, Ingrid, in my 37 years of practice, I have never met anyone that has suffered this much and is mentally stable.
Wow.
I was in shock. I'm like, what? So I told him, that moment, feeling just so shocked, I said, why me? Why this is happening to me? And he gave me the words at that moment that I needed to hear. That was the switch that changed everything. He said to me, why not?
Very good.
That was
Ingrid,
amazing. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we are out of time for today. But I'd like you to tell the audience how they can find your website and where they can get your book.
Yes. My website is ingridhonkala.com, and my book can be found in Amazon. And I encourage all of you to read it because it's an easy read with a really high impact. It can help people that is in the path of trying to get out of the loop of suffering, see beyond their pain,
and return back to the light.
Terrific. Thanks again, Ingrid, for telling us your fascinating story. If listeners would like to hear this show again or any of our past shows, just go to our website at nderadio.org and hit the Past Shows button. And for information about IANDS, go to their website at IANDS.org and be with us again next Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern, for more NDE Radio. This is your host, Lee Witting, saying thanks for listening.